Well, we're here with Alejandro Solerno in behalf of the talk group.
Por no empezó a empezar de vuelta. Después lo editamos.
Me duele la panza, ¿verdad?
Sí, un ruido ahí de hambre importante.
Sí.
Empezá cuando quieras, después lo cortamos.
No, venga que... ¿Cómo era? Talk group. ¿Pero cómo?
Decir que es una entrevista para
Well,
todo
we're
el
interviewing
proyecto de
Radnic
todo.
for talk, eso. Well, ¿no?
Cuando quieras.
Dale. Well, we're here interviewing Ali Solerno for a talk project investigating, let's say, the natural sciences. Hi, Ale.
Hello, Thomas.
And, well, basically there are 4 questions.
Alright.
I shoot, let's say.
Let's do it.
Yes. Well, the first question is, should the natural sciences be regarded more as a method or more as a body of knowledge?
Nice question, Thomas. Should the natural science be regarded more as a method or as a body of knowledge? I think I'd go with both. Yes. Clearly, it's both. Yes, it is a method. It is a way to inquire nature. Yeah, it's a way to find out about how things work, about how the universe, nature that surrounds us works. Yes, and does things, why things happen. Yes, and also sort of description of nature. Yeah. So in those senses, we have a method to achieve that knowledge, and we accumulate that in a body of knowledge, right? And which one is more important? I think both are very, very important, because we don't start from nowhere. Yes. Science is a body of knowledge that accumulates over time. We are approaching a better description of nature, right, of the universe. So as we do that, we need to stand on previous knowledge to be able to build on top of it. Yes. To build on top of it by performing a method, yes, by doing the scientific method and finding out more. Sometimes there are parts of that body of knowledge that might be discarded, yes, but you're still standing on them because you want to at least disprove them or falsify them, yes. So it's still there, so it's still a body of knowledge, and there's a method that will prove or disprove what you had before, yes, expand on it or change it, but it is there, and so it is a body of knowledge, and with method we change it, we modify it, yes, we are about accumulating more and more.
It's like an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process, totally. Science is definitely an ongoing process, yes. One of the things about science is, and that's a very good question, yes, does it ever stop? Will we ever achieve total knowledge of the universe or the human body? Yes. Well, I don't think so. Yes. There used to be a time when science thought that it could reach an explanation of everything. Yes. We no longer think that. We keep thinking that the more we know, yes, as a famous phrase goes, the more we know, the less we know about the world. Yes. Right? And we want to know more, or the more we realize how much we still don't know. Yes. And that's something that applies, I think, to any kind of knowledge. The more you get into a certain subject, into a certain topic, you realize, wow, this is so big. Yes. I know more, but there's still so much more to learn, so much more to know.
And do these methods have like similarities with for example, the similarities or differences with other sciences, such as the human sciences?
Well, I have a particular problem with that. Let's see, historically, natural sciences developed a method to research, to investigate, to inquire nature. Yeah? This is not too old, yes. This started in the 1500s, 1600s. The experimental scientific method started in the 1500s. Now, it was quite successful. So successful, in fact, that it got to the point where positivism at the end of the 19th century, from the sciences, thought that they could know everything. That there would be a point where they could know everything. So it was so successful that many other disciplines wanted to copy it. Yes, wanted to say, okay, if these methods are working, if they have achieved such a good level of description of the world, we should copy it. Yes, we should take those methods and do something similar in the social sciences or the human sciences. I don't know to what point that has been successful. I know that there was a moment where, particularly sociology, for instance, insisted very much in doing quantitative, scientific methodology and using scientific methodology from the hard natural sciences, yes, and put that into sociology. I know that now that has changed a little bit, because even science itself, yes, and natural sciences itself has realized that we're not going to know everything, yes. So when you start from that, yes, you also have to wonder in the social sciences, will that work? Well, it's a much more complex system with many more variables, so it gets more difficult to really do a method that will isolate variables, that will control the variables in a proper way as the scientific method requires. Yes. So you can probably take some things, yes, but acknowledging that the subject is more complex, that your variables will be many more, yes, that your control, that your independent, dependent variables may not be as clear as in the sciences, in the natural sciences. And where I said that I had a problem here is that I don't see why they should be called sciences. Yeah, in the sense, when you say science, when anybody says science, they're thinking about the natural sciences. You don't need to clarify that. Yes. When you're saying science, you're thinking about physics, chemistry, biology, whatever branch you want to think about. Yes. When you're saying social sciences, you've got to specify social sciences. Yes, you've got to specify that it's social science. And I think that they borrowed the name of science to kind of validate its methodology a little bit more. Yes. To just say, we are as good as, yes, or we are as valid, or we are as, as reliable as science. And so we borrow that name and we use it in social sciences or human sciences. And, well, it's not necessary. It's a different thing, yes. And there are particular differences. For instance, in science, the real one, we don't stand on, let's say, Newton, yes, or Galileo, or in Aristoteles to explain the motion of the planets. We got to stand in Einstein, on the last person, yes, or on the last things that were discovered regarding that. We got to use everything, yes, and use the last to continue researching. In the social sciences, you can choose to go from the perspective of different authors at different points in history to validate or, yes, or in a way confirm or deny what you're researching. Yes, the theoretical, el marco teórico, yes, theoretical background could be different depending on what authors you're citing. So that is a very, very big difference, yes. We don't go through the whole things. We don't need to study Galileo now. We just need to go to the last one. Yeah.
Well, now moving on a different question.
Totally.
What would be the role of creativity in sciences? I mean, to what extent is the creation of a hypothesis or a research method comparable to the creation of a work of art?
I think it's totally related. I think art and science are much, much closer than it would appear to the, let's say, to the naked eye. Yes, and some people might think, in particular people who are not, I'd say, in science, yes, that science and art are very far away from each other. And truth is that there's a lot of creativity that goes into not just coming up with a research question, which is very good here, because a hypothesis requires, yes, but the way that you're designing the experiment, yes. How do you do to find out what you want to find out? You got to be very, very creative in doing that. And in a way, both science and art are ways to describe the world, yes, from different perspectives, right? You could say that one is on the rational end and the other is on the emotional end, but both are valid ways to question, to know about the world. Recently, there was a book, I can't remember the name now, but a friend of mine just showed it recently to me, that talked about the intersections between science and art. And if you look back, the great, great people in science or in art have also had something to do with the other branches, Leonardo da Vinci, yes, Newton, Einstein, yes. They also have a lot of things that go into art, that go into music, that go into paintings, that go into a lot of different areas. So I think that you need to be creative. If you're going to be a good scientist, you need to be creative.
Think out of the box.
Yeah, certainly. You definitely have to do it.
And moving on to the final question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how does the social, let's say, context of scientific work affect the methods and findings of science?
Well, that's interesting. I think that the social context is very important, because the science that you're thinking in terms of a country, for instance. You're thinking
Yes.
in terms of, yeah. I think that the science that is done in a country should be, or should at least have in mind, objectives of the country. Let's say, there's always this battle in science whether to do basic research, which doesn't necessarily have a practical application, yes, and practical research that has an immediate or short-term application. Yeah. I think you need to have both. You do need to have both. You need to continue doing basic research, because that eventually will have results that you don't know as where they will go, and that is very, very good. But at the same time, the practical sciences, yes, the engineering, the research on chemistry, yes, on biology, should have in mind certain guidelines for the country. Yes. For instance, in Argentina, yes, in Argentina, I think that there should be a lot more research done into local diseases that are not investigated by foreign laboratories, like mal de Chagas, for instance. That is a disease that is not researched. Why? Because it's a disease of poor people. So the big labs don't want anything to do with it, because they won't be able to pay for it. Yes. And in the same way, researching into different crops, researching into different agricultural methods, researching into genetic engineering, yes, for livestock, for plants, yes, for medicine, yes. All those things need to have in mind the social context in which you have them, right? In Argentina in particular are the areas that I mentioned. That there could be many, many more, yes, that I'm not a policymaker, so I'm not deciding that, but certainly the social context should be very important in defining what you're going to do research. But not only that, the social context should also favor that kind of research. What do I mean? The state should provide the conditions for science to do that. Because if not, you're short-sighted. Yes. So there are the two things. Science needs to give to the people, yes, to the country, but the state needs to provide the conditions for science to work, and understand that sometimes, many times, the results are not immediate, and that you need to allow for a lot of time for education of science, yes, development of scientific methodology in the particular areas, and finally get the results. That might take 20 years, 30, 40, yes, but it's something that you cannot shy away from.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, Thomas. Thank you for the questions. They were very, very good. All right.